Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. No one wants foreign interference in our ballot measure campaigns. But we have foreign interference in our ballot measure campaigns in Nebraska, and it has continued even though the unicameral passed a law to stop it. In 2020, the 1630 Fund contributed nearly $2 million to a Nebraska ballot initiative campaign. The 1630 Fund has received almost $280 million from Hans-Jörg Wyss, a Swiss leftist billionaire. And then in 2022, that same 1630 Fund that received hundreds of millions of dollars from the Swiss billionaire contributed nearly $2.5 million to another Nebraska initiative campaign. That year, 2022, the Nebraska legislature thought that it had put a stop to this by passing a law that brought at my request, explicitly prohibiting direct or indirect contributions to ballot measure committees by foreign nationals. But the contributions didn't stop. Even though we had a law on the books to stop it, in the 2024 cycle, the 1630 Fund and two other funds that had received a total of more than $460 million from foreign billionaires and other foreign entities spent more than $5 million on Nebraska ballot measure campaigns. This is wrong. It is fundamentally wrong for foreign billionaires and foreign organizations to use their money to interfere with our ballot measures. Nebraskans don't need or want this interference, and it is completely improper. As Nebraskans, we have a right to make up our own minds without the interference or influence of foreign money. This has continued even after the legislature passed a law to stop it. So this session, at my request, Senator Anderson has brought LB 927, a bill that will strengthen the prohibition against foreign money in our ballot measure campaigns and provide stiff penalties for violations. What this bill seeks to do is to make it harder to evade the intent of this prohibition. Under LB 927, when ballot committees file their reports with the Nebraska Accountability and Disclosure Commission, they would be required to certify that they haven't received money from foreign nationals, directly or indirectly, to engage in preliminary activity concerning the ballot measure. The committee also will be required to certify that each contributor to the campaign isn't a foreign national, and that the contributor has not intentionally received more than $100,000 in the prior 4 years from a foreign national. The contributors themselves also will be required to make a similar certification. Similar certifications must be provided by those required to file reports of independent expenditures on ballot issue campaigns. The purpose of requiring these deep certifications is simple. It is to clamp down on the laundering of money and influence from foreign nationals. Fines for violations are steep. Ballot committees who violate the prohibition will be fined in the amount of the contribution or $100,000, whichever is greater. Foreign nationals who violate the prohibition will be fined in the amount of the contribution plus $100,000. Investigations into violations must protect the identities of lawful donors. No government authority or court will have the power to require the disclosure of the identities of lawful donors to tax-exempt organizations. I am committed to the integrity of Nebraska's elections. The passage of LB 927 is one of the ways that we can do so. Nebraskans ought not to have to suffer the interference of foreign nationals in the consideration of our ballot measures. And I'm grateful to Senator Anderson for bringing this bill. I encourage its passage by the legislature and that it be signed into law by the governor. And thank you, and now let me call upon Senator Anderson for a few comments, and then we'll take questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Evnen, for asking me to introduce this bill. LB 927 is about election integrity. It addresses a fundamental issue all Nebraskans, and frankly all Americans, agree on. There is no place for foreign influence in our elections. This bill strengthens existing law against foreign interference on ballot initiatives. This is another step to ensure the integrity of our political process. I appreciate all the hard work of Secretary, Attorney General, and both their staffs and my staff into refining LB 927. I look forward to today's hearing and getting LB 927 to the floor and pass it into law. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. Questions? Oh, all right, you're under call.
Yeah, I gotta go. Thank you.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
thank you. The senator has to leave because the House is under call. So it's, Ahmed. Yes, go ahead.
So this Swiss billionaire, I understand that Hilgers filed a lawsuit a few
Yes.
months ago against him, and what he said was that the billionaire was at the top of the chain and he was sort of feeding organization through organization. So how exactly are you going to track this foreign funding?
Well, the contributors have to make a certification that they didn't receive it. And the committees have to make certifications as well. The penalties for not doing this correctly are stiff. So the theory is that the committees are going to be careful about tracking this money forward. The committees are going to be careful about the contributors. And because now there's some bite to this. Yeah.
I'm trying to kind of game this out in my head, but how does it work if, you know, you have one of these big funds, like 1630, that probably has, you know, hundreds of donors from various walks of life, and if it all goes into one fund, and from there, you know, an all-American nonprofit is deciding, you know, who to, I guess, dole the money out from there. How are these, you know, ballot initiatives that maybe aren't, you know, super savvy in some of these things supposed to determine whether or not this money is allowed or not allowed in a Nebraska election?
Well, they ask the contributors. I mean, the rules are clear. They can give the rules to the contributors. They can look at the rules themselves. And they have to file certifications, but they have to obtain certifications from their contributors also. And the contributors certainly know where they're getting their money. So they're going to have to rely on what their contributors are providing to them. But they have to make sure that their contributors are reliable people to make these certifications because they're on the hook for it.
So if I'm a contributor and I say, okay, yeah, we do receive millions of dollars from this foreign source, but the money that we're giving to you has not come from that. There's a firewall here from other sources. Would that be allowed under
No.
the version of the law here?
No.
So any money that goes into
Money is money. Money is fungible. Money's money. And so if they're in this bill, it's laid out how much you could take in and from who. But if there's foreign national money in this fund, you're not going to be able to accept it if the fund has accepted more than $100,000 from foreign nationals in the last 4 years. Yes.
So to be crystal clear, if any nonprofit entity group has received more than $100,000 from a foreign national, they cannot participate in funding ballot question committees in Nebraska?
Right.
In this bill?
Yes.
And could you explain the penalties?
Now, the penalty for the committee, if the committee's received it and it's an improper and unlawful contribution, then the penalty is the amount of the contribution or $100,000, whichever is greater. And the foreign national who's provided the money, they're fined in the amount of the contribution plus $100,000. Those are the penalties. We think that'll get people's attention.
There's also a second election bill today related to circulating petitions from Senator Storm, LB 1068. Does your office have any comment, or will you be testifying on that bill this afternoon?
Senator Storm's bill has some very important and positive aspects to it, and we're working with his office to refine it.
Secretary Evnen, right now President Trump is calling for a nationalization of elections despite it being in direct contradiction to Article 1.
Took 11 minutes for us to get there. Okay.
Despite it being in direct contradiction to Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution, do you believe that that is something that would benefit Nebraska or the U.S. as a whole, or what's your opinion?
I am with Senator Thune on this, the majority leader of the Senate, who made a statement about this. It's very important that we have voter ID. It's very important that we assure ourselves that non-citizens are not voting. But we don't need to nationalize elections to do it.
going back to the ballot initiatives, what would you tell Nebraskans who might see these efforts as just kind of this another way of kind of limiting, you know, the direct democracy and what people have a say on at the ballot box?
Well, Nebraskans don't want foreign money influencing their elections. And this bill is a way of further assuring that that doesn't happen. Nebraskans are perfectly able to decide for themselves what they think is right without foreign influence, without foreign money. So this is not a limitation on Nebraskans. What this is a way to liberate Nebraskans from foreign influence that we don't need. Last question. Go ahead.
In district court in Lancaster County, you of course have the case related to the voter rolls in the U.S. Department of Justice. Can you kind of give us an update where that is? And obviously the court has not ruled yet. Your office has mentioned the February 12th deadline for the U.S. Department of Justice. Can you fill us in and what will happen on February 12th if there is no ruling?
Well, this matter was heard before the court on January 29. Our office was represented by the Attorney General in this case, is represented by the Attorney General in this case. There was a hearing held before the court on January 29. As I understand it, the judge took the matter under submission and has not issued a ruling yet. What we have said, what we said in December was that we'll send this information on February 12 unless we are ordered otherwise by the court. I am thinking that the court will probably issue an order prior to that. If we have no order from the court, or if the court authorizes the disclosure, then we'll be sending the information on February 12, along with our a letter to the Department of Justice reminding the Department of Justice of its obligation under law to keep the information confidential and to honor the privacy statutes of our country and our state.
Secretary Evnen, can I jump in with one more question?
Should I let her? Yes, please.
What information does the DOJ, does the federal government get out of this voter data that they don't already have through passports, driver's license, birth certificates?
Well, not very much. The voter file is, there's a public voter file that anyone can get as long as they're using it for a proper purpose. And law enforcement is a proper purpose. The Social Security numbers and birth dates, that's information that the federal government already has. It's the federal government that has issued the Social Security numbers. The driver's licenses are a little bit different. That's information that we would be providing, but again, under the requirement of privacy and confidentiality under both state and federal law. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for finding your way to the Wary Room. The Wary Room was the lounge for our senators. Did you know this? When the state capitol opened, Grinval's is getting all this down. So are you. Where are you from?
Nebraska Television.
Oh, great. When the state capitol was built and when it opened in 1932, Nebraska had two legislative houses like everybody else. And on this side, which is no longer in use as a legislative chamber, in 1937 we went to a unicameral and they met over on the other side of the rotunda. But we still have this legislative chamber over here, and this was the Senate's lounge. This is the Senator's lounge right here. What we use this room for now primarily is to receive delegations that come into the state to visit, both domestic delegations and international delegations. So we meet with them here in this room, and you can. It's really a pretty magnificent space inside the state capitol. There's a lounge just like this. It's the same dimensions. It's not just like this, but there's a lounge similar to this on the other side behind the unicameral's chamber. So you can go over there and kind of take a look around before they kick you out.
Can I ask you a question about the room?
Yes.
What is this animal supposed to be?
What is that animal? What
It looks
what
like
does
an
it
alligator.
what does it look like to you? It looks like an alligator. Tell me about alligators. Have you had encounters with alligators?
Not
Not in
recently.
Nebraska.
So yeah, the representations that you see around the state capitol There are a lot of Native American representations, you know this. There's a lot of representation of corn and bison. This was a theme throughout the Capitol. The state capitol of Nebraska not only had an architect, it also had an artist and a philosopher.